all game. We are motivated. We are dedicated. Come on now. Come on now. We will win. We are the best on the field. And we in the field like, all day like, all night like, on the blue light, offense like, defense like, this squad like, house call like, and it sound like, and it sound like, and it sound like.
Welcome to the Short Sports Show. I'm your host, Daniel Short. Today is March 10th, 2017. And ladies and gentlemen, this is the 200th episode of the Short Sports Show. Now, I began the year saying 2017 was going to be a great year, and guess what? It has already been a great year. Just about, 2.5 months into the year, it's already been great. We have a great show for you guys. Of course, it's going to be all NFL free agency. We also have a special guest on the show today. We are going to be talking to Washington Huskies wide receiver John Ross, speed coach Gary Cablayan. We had the privilege to speak with him this past week and talk to him about him teaching John Ross and what they were able to do. Of course, John Ross ended up at the NFL Combine, breaking the NFL Combine record of Chris Johnson, running a 4.22 40. So I'm excited for that. We have other interviews lined up for the rest of the month that I'm excited about. All the great blessings from the man above. I'm excited for today's show. Of course, March Madness, people. TCU. They beat Kansas. They started off March Madness the right way, defeating number 1 Kansas in the Big 12 tournament, trying to keep the NCAA tournament hopes alive. I'm hoping my Horned Frogs can do it. I'm excited for it. Of course, NFL free agency, craziness about it. We've had the Browns making a crazy trade, but is it a smart trade? Was it a dumb thing? Spending $16 million on a second rounder? We'll talk about that. As well as what are the Browns going to do with Brock Osweiler? Is he going to even play in Cleveland? And also Tony Romo. Is he going to Houston? Is he going to Dallas? What's happening? It's so much craziness that we're going to talk about. The entire show, NFL free agency, 200th episode of the Short Sports Show. I'm ready. Let's get it. Starting with InnerGrind. Today's show is sponsored by InnerGrind. Based out of Houston, Texas, let former Texas State linebacker Michael Rakpo help you reach your fitness and nutrition goals. With personal training classes that start at $40 a session, why not be a part of this rising program? And whether your goals are to lose weight, gain muscle mass, find the right off-season program, or even for you ladies out there to get that booty blast, you can do it all with InnerGrind. Not in the Houston area, not a problem. InnerGrind has a program that is personalized just for you. InnerGrind has everything you need to meet your personal and healthy goals. NFL linebackers like Titans Brian Orakpo, Chiefs Derek Johnson, Buccaneers running back Charles Sims, and San Diego Chargers cornerback Craig Mager, along with many other young athletes, have already begun. Find your personalized workout and nutrition plan at InnerGrind.com and call 832-475-2829. That's InnerGrind.com, 832-475-2829. Unleash your inner grind. Start off the show with our interview with Gary Cablayan. Links will be in the description down below to follow Evo Sports Training, and as well as Gary. He's an awesome guy. We plan on having him on the show again sometime soon. Great interview. Check it out. Gary Cablayan on the show. Gary, thank you for making time for us coming on to the show. How are you?
I'm blessed. I couldn't be happier with how things went this last weekend.
And of course, we've got to address the elephant in the room. Now, you're part of a big reason why Washington Husky John Ross and obviously NFL prospect John Ross ran a combine record 4.22 this past week. First, how excited were you? And did you expect this from John Ross?
I was super excited. Once it became official, I was stressed out after he ran because, of course, everyone knows he kind of pulled up, cramped up at the end. So, of course, my first thought was of him and can he run another one, because I didn't think he really ran a perfect 40. Like the night before, he had actually better starts than he had on that day. And then with the cramp, and I saw him slow up a little bit. I didn't think it was going to be that fast. It looked good from after the first probably from 10 to 30, it looked really good. But that first couple steps, like kind of like what we practiced, wasn't there. And then, of course, the end, wasn't quite there. So I was super concerned, super stressed about, can he even run again? Was the time fast enough? But, going into it, we had tested, when he first got there, we tested, and he ran 4.53. That was like only a week in, 2 weeks before he ran the 4.22, we tested like I normally do, a 2-week out test and see where they're at, give them some confidence. And he ran 4.30. From that point, we kind of knew, okay, once we back him off even more, and with the adrenaline, he should go 4.2s. So we were confident going in. He was confident going in, and when you're confident, some good things can happen. So, I really wasn't expecting a 4.22. I was thinking 4.25 was possible.
Right, and Ross isn't the only NFL player you've trained. You've also played a big part in the development of Deshaun Jackson. What has it been like training these top athletes?
Oh man, it's fun. You know what? You end up being more than a coach. You end up being a mentor and helping them out through life and what they come across, and helping them in every sort of way you can. But yeah, I've been training Deshaun since he was 8, and just kind of been there for him for that speed part in his football career.
And what's the secret? What do you have in your arsenal that makes it possible for these athletes who come to you to not only drop their 40 speed overall, but their quickness and everything? What do you got?
You know what? It's not just one thing. It would be so easy if it was one thing, but it's a combination of one, I learned under a lot of good people, one being my dad. He was a coach, and he was actually my college coach, and so I learned from him. I learned from a lot of other guys. I ran track professionally for 10 years, so just being around that and picking everybody's brains. Like, I've always been one of this, always trying to learn. Like, I still think there was some things I could have done better in their combine class this year. So it's that need to always learn more and to study. But it's also how you communicate with the guys. I think, going into it, it's a plan, and you got to let them know this is not just me telling you what to do. This is kind of we got to work together to get the best results. And I think once they know that, they have some type of say, and just explain a lot to them. I explain so much to them, and they feel confident with the speed work, like usually from the first week, they're like, oh, this is some good stuff. So with the combination of, right on the first week, we're just day to day grilling in the technique of running. These are football guys. You got to remember, they're football first. They're fast guys naturally, but there's a lot of stuff as far as John, as far as his hip mobility and flexibility, that's not there for a top end sprinter. And he's crazy fast, but as far as a sprinter and technique wise, he's not up to par. So going in, that's one of our main focuses with every athlete, is get their technique right and be able to just work together with that to get the results that we got.
Right, and along with learning throughout your career, you now have your own company, Evo Sports Training. How did this come about?
Well, once I finished, running track professionally, I kind of had one of those times. It's hard. It's a rough position from going from professional back into the job market. So I was already kind of coaching a lot of high school kids. I've coached probably by that time 6 years. I was coaching and helping high school kids here and there. So once I finished, I went in coaching at 3 years at a college, and then I was also working nights at UPS for 3 years, working the graveyard shift so I could still coach in the daytime. And then, with the track background, I was coaching a very few elite track athletes, and then was fortunate enough to be able to have an Olympian that I was able to help and get to the 2008 Olympics. And then, then that progressed, and I had a guy that was in the 2012 Olympics. So, from that point, it kind of just started the business, and it's been going. This is going to be my 10th year, just kind of grinding with the business and just doing what I love to do, And, when you do something you love to do, time flies, and, you're having fun and being able to mentor the kids at the same time.
Right, and elaborate more on that, because of course this is a sports podcast, but we talk about other things, and kind of your story, you're grinding through, you like you said, UPS, working overnights just to try to keep, training other athletes. What was it like? What was your thought process through all those nights, through all those days, to continue to see a vision and now seeing it, fulfill and doing amazing things?
Well, I'm a very optimistic type of person. Sometimes people say maybe too much so, but I'm very optimistic. And, I just knew I had a passion. I knew I had some talent. I've gotten results from a young age of coaching. Guys would come in running 11 seconds and they turn around and run, 10, 29, and 100 meters. And so, those results are not, common. So I knew I had a gift, and I knew I had a gift to work with the athletes and have that passion. So, I just kind of stayed on it. But, those 3 years of doing, coaching at the college, starting my own business and working at UPS, and literally I was sleeping 3 or 4 hours a night for 3 years. It got to the point where it was just like, you know what, this is taking years off of my life. When you're sleep deprived, you're usually very irritable. So it definitely wasn't a good thing all around. So I had to make that jump and I had to quit UPS. I learned a lot from a lot of people in there, just, on that business side. And I was actually doing a lot of the training on them, how to lift the boxes and how to load and doing the safety, procedure, stuff like that. So there was still some actual coaching going on in UPS, if you can imagine that.
Right.
But, it was rough. And, but you know what? Things like that, they make you a better person. They realize, how bad you really want something. And I think, at the end of the day, I think I'm a very religious person and believe that everything happens for a reason. And you got to go through hard times in order to be ready for the good times.
Absolutely. On a personal level, Mike, I have a cousin who's looking to walk on to a collegiate program. In the meantime, he's been training other high school athletes as well as collegiate athletes. What advice do you have for him, along with other people who are wanting to do this, and what can they gain from your experiences?
The biggest thing to always do is to always try to get better. Research, study some of the best people, read a lot. You got to learn your craft. You got to know your craft inside and out. And obviously, everybody's got a passion for it, but it's more than that. You got to actually go put in the work and study. I get most of my stuff from my dad. He loves researching stuff, and he'll spend hours upon hours reading and on the computer, and then he'll hey, check this out. This is actually pretty good. So he kind of dwindles that down for me. So that's the main thing. And you got to know the body. You got to know how the body works inside and out, because when you're really seeing stuff on the outside, you got to learn how to break it down on what's happening on the inside, and know your athlete. I mean, everybody's different. I had a guy call me this morning and was like, well, what should I do as far as tips? And I said, you know what? Each one of my guys that I had at the combine had a different cue that they had to use in order to get good results. And so, like John's was his arms. His second step was never as big as it should have been. And so his whole cue was big on big, and it's crazy because it's like a song out. So it kind of stuck. You got to find that thing that's going to stick with the kid, and they kind of, can relate to it and make that cue work for them. And so you got to find that cue that works for the athlete. So you got to know the body and you got to know your athlete. If you kind of combine those two, you'll start getting good results.
Perfect. Well, Gary, if I'm ever, I appreciate your time. If I'm ever in the California area, we need to link up. I appreciate you coming on to the show.
I appreciate everything. Thanks.
Be sure to follow Gary and Evo Sports Training on Twitter and Facebook's links will be in the description down below. Now, of course, the biggest news in NFL free agency is the Houston Texans trading Brock Osweiler to the Cleveland Browns. They just said, hey, take him, take the contract. We'll give you whatever you want. We just don't want him. And the Browns said, you know what, we got about $100 million. So, yeah, we'll take him, and we just want your second rounder, as well as some other things. So, Brock Osweiler, he's off. He's off for the Texans back. That terrible, probably the worst free agent signing in NFL history is now off of the Houston Texans. Of course, it will always be linked to that. But that $16 million guaranteed, that won't be. That salary cap is off. The Texans will also get the Browns' 4th round draft pick out of it. Now, while Osweiler is technically part of the Browns roster, there have been rumors and sources, of course, Twitter right now is going crazy with who has sources, that is saying that he's not going to be a part of the 2017 Cleveland Browns roster, that he will be traded or released before the season even starts, which is kind of, it's not shocking, but it just kind of, it threw me off when I first saw the news come out. I started tweeting about it, that it's crazy. It's smart. I think it's smart by the Browns. A lot of people are saying, well, they just spent basically $16 million to get a second-round pick. Is it worth it? Now, this could be linked to a lot of things. One, it could just be an extra pick. If you look at their 2017 and 2018 NFL draft picks, they got 2 first-rounders, 2 second-rounders. They've got nearly 10 picks in each of the next 2 years drafts. So that's absolutely crazy. Now, there's also, that could just be building a roster, or it could be trying to get a better chance at getting New England Patriots quarterback Jimmy Garoppolo in a trade, saying, hey, we could give you a little bit more. Now, of course, New England has said, we're not doing it. We're not giving up Jimmy Garoppolo. We can't do it. Tom Brady turns 40 before the 2017 season, and they're saying, you know what, we just can't. We can't do that. We can't give up a guy who is likely going to be our future quarterback. So, moving on with Texans, they save $16 million, right? They save it. It's good. It's off of their back. Now, they're, of course, linked up with potentially getting Dallas Cowboys quarterback Tony Romo. Now, he is still a Dallas Cowboy quarterback. He hasn't been released. They said they were going to release him on Thursday. It's Friday, depending on when you're watching this. It's Friday. Hasn't been released, and he hasn't been traded. And they said, well, we're going to trade him now. Nothing has happened. This is given the Texans saying, look, we've got more salary cap now. We don't have a quarterback necessarily. We want Tony Romo, whether that's a trade piece or comes in as a free agent. Texans have said they're not going to trade for Tony Romo. I feel like it's going to be tough getting in somewhat of a bidding war with the Denver Broncos. Now, the Denver Broncos have been linked up as well with Tony Romo. And there were rumors again going around yesterday saying that Trevor Siemian would be on the trading block to the New York Jets. Denver quickly shut that down, saying we're not looking to trade Trevor Siemian at the time. I don't know. I feel like do they really want to get in a bidding war with Houston? Again, both teams have said they're not going to, because I think they've learned from Brock Osweiler. Now, of course, Tony Romo was a lot better when healthy. Now, of course, Tony Romo, though, he said goodbye to the Dallas Cowboys in a somewhat awkward, cringy type video that he uploaded to social media, his Instagram and Twitter, saying goodbye. He had a background song playing. Some times are changing or something like that. And he's still with the Cowboys. Of course, we all know he's not going to be on the Cowboys roster. And he's got a $14 million salary cap. This is one of the reasons why teams don't want to trade for him right now. Of course, Cowboys, they would like to, because then if they release him, then they still have to pay him an X amount of money. They trade him. Again, he's off their books. So with all of that, who's going to get Tony Romo? Is it going to be Denver? Is it going to be Houston? Those are really the only two teams. I don't see, obviously, Cleveland becoming in the mix. Now, to be honest, though, if you're a Cowboys front office, if you're in their front office management, and Cleveland comes to you and says, hey, we'll give you, probably not going to give you a first rounder. We'll give you one of our second rounders and a couple extra picks. I mean, I wouldn't turn that down. Of course, Tony Romo doesn't want to go there. It's just been absolutely crazy. Now, I have a feeling, I got my phone right here just in case any breaking news happens. But I have a feeling right after the show, right after this is uploaded, there's going to be some news to Tony Romo. So I'm going to go ahead and make my prediction for Tony Romo, where he's going to end up playing in 2017. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. If I'm right, awesome. I'm going to go ahead and say Tony Romo ends up in Houston. I just feel like, obviously, Brock Osweiler wasn't a strong quarterback for Houston, and giving him up not necessarily, means they have to get Tony Romo. That was my first initial thought, that they would have to get him. But, I also see them saying we're not going to get in a bidding war. But I feel like Tony Romo, he's just, though he did it very calmly and somewhat humbly, humbly is not even a word, humble, I feel like Tony Romo really kind of wants to just jab back at the Dallas Cowboys. And Denver is most likely, obviously the stronger team. But I feel like he just wants to be like, you know what? I'm going to stay in Texas. I'm going to have the better Texas team, and I'm going to lead my team to the playoffs. He can win the AFC South much easier than he can win the AFC West, and try to make a run. Defense may be a little bit stronger. That's kind of up to debate who you rather feel comfortable with, whether it's the Denver Broncos defense or Houston's defense. But I feel like Tony Romo is going to end up in Houston, and it's just been exciting to watch this all go down. It's just been a crazy 24 hours. Moving on today, Russell Okung, former Denver Broncos offensive lineman, he agreed to join the Los Angeles Chargers. I definitely put San Diego down here, and I call myself a Chargers fan. That's a fail. To a 4-year deal worth $53 million. Now, it is guaranteed $25 million. There were reports of $13.25 million. So that was guaranteed. It is $25 million. So let's just lock that down. The Chargers, they released offensive tackle DJ Fluker, as well as, at least here pretty soon, they will release King Dunlap. It's just waiting. I don't know why they're waiting. They're definitely not going to trade him. But with the off-the-field issues he's had recently and just not playing consistently, Russell Okung is most likely going to take a spot and switch, and might as well cut Dunlap. I mean, we just need more money because Chargers... which I never even got to say on the show. I am actually now a writer for SB Nation's Chargers blog. So y'all go check it out. I'm on there. I'll put the link in the description down below. I got 3 articles up talking about the Chargers quarterback stuff, about the potential NFL draft, what they could do. I don't know. I'm pretty nice with them. Getting back in the groove. I used to write. Now I'm back in it. Just a little something for y'all. Let's see what else. Okung, he did play 16 games for the Denver Broncos, the first time in his career that he's actually played all 16 games. The problem is there was only one other left tackle that gave up more pressures than Russell Okung, and that was Eric Flowers of the New York Giants. And Russell Okung also finished tied for the Broncos team lead in penalties with 11. I feel like the Chargers, they just don't know how to spend and get the right players. But hopefully this means they won't draft a offensive lineman with the 7th overall pick. We'll see. Who knows with them. How about the Rams, though? I really like what the Rams did. They went out, got Bengals left tackle Andrew Whitworth. Solid left tackle, Greg Robinson. They're most likely moving on from him, which, if you think about it, go back to that draft, I believe, 2012 draft with Greg Robinson, the St. Louis Rams, 2nd overall pick. They go and get Greg Robinson, left tackle out of Auburn. Guess who was in the waiting? Sammy Watkins. They passed on him. They could have had Sammy Watkins, could have gave a deep threat along with Tavon Austin. Imagine the combo in that. But they went and got Greg Robinson. He's now kind of a bust. They're moving on from him. Andrew Whitworth, they bring him in. I like it. Pro Bowl guy the past 3 years, or at least he's gone to the Pro Bowl 3 times. He's 35, but for the past 11 years with the Cincinnati Bengals, he's done an amazing job. They gave him a solid contract. Then they go and get Aaron Murray, quarterback. he's coming in as a third-string quarterback, as Sean Mannion will be the backup to Jared Goff. I like this. I like this a lot. Aaron Murray, I still kind of give hope for him. I think he's learned a lot in Kansas City. He also spent time with 2 other ball clubs. But you bring him back. He played at Georgia with Todd Gurley. Maybe it just pushes the competition a little bit more. And I think that's what the Rams are hoping for. Obviously, they're not looking to have Aaron Murray start over Jared Goff because, that would just blow up, especially now being in Los Angeles. But I think it is a solid signing. Then, not only did they get Aaron Murray, they went and got Buffalo Bills wide receiver Robert Woods, who played at USC. So he's back in the Coliseum at least until 2019. Signed a 5-year, $39 million deal, $15 million guaranteed. Of course, that $39 million is plus incentives if he reaches it. Now, he's not, of course, Alshon Jeffrey, who was available, or Deshaun Jackson, or even Pierre Garçon. But he gives the Rams a solid option, a nice compliment to Tavon Austin. They're still searching for a number 1 wide receiver. Tavon's not that guy. Robert Woods won't be that guy. In this draft, it's a deep class, and this at least backs off a little bit of pressure off them for drafting a receiver maybe in the first 2 rounds. They can back off and get one later and address some other needs like the offensive line and search for another DB or so. I like the signing, though. In 13 games last year, Woods caught 51 passes, 613 yards, and a touchdown. He did battle a knee sprain back in November, and he also played through a torn groin in all of 2015. So this guy's a battler. He's back home. Hopefully that pushes him a little bit, gives another weapon for Jared Goff. A shocking wide receiver transaction that happened. Chicago Bears former Chicago Bears wide receiver, Alshon Jeffrey, signs a 1-year, $14 million deal with the Philadelphia Eagles. Now, this is a smart signing for Jeffrey. Actually, I'm going to back off. That's maybe not a smart signing. You look at the money and you say, okay, he was franchise tagged by the Chicago Bears last year. It was $14.599 million, right? Now this year, he gets a 1-year deal with another team that he likes, probably a better quarterback, better team, and he gets $14 million, almost like another franchise tag. The problem with this is that, God forbid, he gets hurt, which he hasn't been relatively, reliable and healthy the past couple years. He gets hurt. Sure, you get your $14 million this year. It's not guaranteed, but you might get all of it. And then what happens when you want a long-term contract somewhere else or you want to stay in Philadelphia? You get hurt again, it raises question marks. So I don't know if this was a good signing. If I was Alshon Jeffrey, maybe a 2-year, $19 million deal, something like that, try to spread it over. It's a tough thing for him to do that. Of course, last year, 52 catches, 821 yards and 2 touchdowns. He did play with 3 different quarterbacks, Jay Cutler, Matt Barkley, and Brian Hoyer, so that obviously hurts. And he had a 4-game suspension due to a PED use. So that sucks for him. But, I feel like it's a good signing, but then again, it could backfire very easily. Now, the Eagles also signed Torrey Smith, 3-year deal worth $15 million. A lot of guys who are not number 1 wide receivers. Jeffrey could be if healthy. Torrey Smith, definitely not. And, of course, there were rumors going around that saying Jordan Matthews was on the trading block. I hope not, for the Eagles' sake. I think it'd be good to keep him there. If you want to go ahead and trade the rookie Nelson Aguilar, I would not blame you there. But back to the Bears. They, of course, released Jay Cutler after 8 seasons. It's just this is the Bears. I'm questioning the Bears. If you're a Bears fan, I'm sorry. You signed a 3-year deal worth $45 million, $9 million guaranteed to backup quarterback Mike Glennon of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. You go ahead and sign him. He is apparently coming in as the starter. He will be the starting quarterback if no injuries and if he doesn't get beat in camp, which I wouldn't hold my breath. But this guy is going to make $14.5 million annually, roughly. That's ridiculous. That's absolutely. I'm sorry. I'm not a fan of Mike Glennon. He's not that good. I don't care. That's the market value. The market value needs to change then. If you're going to pay, and I get he's going to become your starting quarterback, but what has he done in the league that makes you say that is a franchise quarterback? That's a quarterback who can lead this team to a playoffs, who can lead us to the championship. Jay Cutler, I believe, is better than Mike Glennon, and he only made the playoffs one time, one playoff appearance. I don't understand. Back to Jay Cutler. He turns 34 years old in April next month. Played 5 games last season thanks to a thumb injury and shoulder injuries. He also suffered a torn labrum in his right throwing shoulder and underwent surgery in December. Now, he's been linked with the New York Jets, possibly going there. They're waiting to see. It looks like they really want Trevor Siemian. Whether that trade actually goes down, depending on the Tony Romo. There's just a lot of factors that are going on into this. The thing that hurt Cutler, and I know Cutler is the butt of a lot of jokes, and people like to make fun of him, and rightfully so. I mean, when he had 29 interceptions a few years back, that's rough. And questions of him quitting on the team, not playing through injuries, certain injuries, which thumb is important on your throwing. I'm just saying. He did cycle through 6 offensive coordinators in his 8 years. I mean, not a lot of quarterbacks are going to be able to succeed. I'm not trying to make excuses for Cutler, but when you change the terminology, sometimes even the playbook, 6 times in 8 years, there's not going to be a whole lot of consistency. Obviously, there wasn't a whole lot of consistency. So, there's a lot of factors that go into Jay Cutler's failure in Chicago, but I do believe that, Jay Cutler, he'll find his way. I think he's going to end up in New York. I really do. I think it goes to the Jets. It just kind of makes sense. All the backup, or not backup, but the washed-out quarterbacks go to New York to play for the Jets. It's kind of just like a cycle, and I think it probably completes itself again. Former Washington wide receiver DeSean Jackson got paid. Of course, we talked to Gary Cablayan, which if you haven't seen that interview, be sure to check out the full show on Spreaker and iHeartRadio and iTunes as well, the Short Sports Show. He trained DeSean Jackson since he was 8 years old. Now, DeSean Jackson, he got paid. It was if I could get it right here, I believe 3 years, $45 million, big-time deal going to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He replaces Vincent Jackson in a way, not obviously playing style, but in terms of just another receiver. But it's really an upgrade. DeSean Jackson is still fast. According to NFL Next Gen stats for 2016, Jackson registered the 3rd fastest overall speed and the fastest reception time, 22.6 miles per hour on the 59-yard pass from Kirk Cousins. The guy's still quick. I had questions. I didn't think he was still quick. That obviously shows he's still got it. Of course, he's getting a little bit older now. He's going to turn 30 here pretty soon. Actually, he just turned 30 after the season ended. But he's doing good. And this also, just like what we talked about earlier with another team, with the Rams getting a wide receiver, this helps the Buccaneers say, look, it's a deep wide receiver in class. We can now back off and look at other needs, including a tight end. Imagine the Tampa Bay Buccaneers offense, right? It's already been poised to explode with crazy offensive stats with Jameis Winston and the targets that he has now, or the lack of targets that he had. Now, you throw in DeSean Jackson. Mike Evans continues to get better. Hopefully, his hands can continue to get better. And you throw in a guy from Alabama named O.J. Howard. I'm just saying, you throw that in there, you get a 2nd-round running back. If Christian McCaffrey falls into the 2nd round, I'm not a Buccaneers fan, and I won't jump on the bandwagon, but I like them. I like watching them. That would be a fun offense. And back to that next-gen stat, actually, I forgot I had it here on my notes. The only player who measured faster than DeSean Jackson last season was a rookie wide receiver from Kansas City named Tyreek Hill, who is pretty dang fast. So, Buccaneers, they're on the up and up. They're on the up and up, and the NFC South is kind of weak right now. Of course, we had the Falcons go up there, Carolina drop down. Saints are just, who knows who the Saints are. Tampa Bay could jump up there very quickly and make a run for themselves. The New York Giants, they agreed to get wide receiver Brandon Marshall. So he just literally moves locker rooms probably. He just goes into a different locker room. That's it. He's saying 2-year deal on Wednesday. He's 32 years old, but I love this signing. I believe it's even an upgrade over Victor Cruz, who has played injured, and of course, just kind of ever since that injury in Philadelphia, he just hasn't been really the same wide receiver. Now, Brandon Marshall, he comes in as a leader, as a smart guy, both on the field and off the field, football IQ and just overall. And he comes as a mentor to Odell. Now, of course, if you don't know Brandon Marshall's story, he suffered from bipolar and as well as different multiple personalities disorder. He knows the mental issues in sports. I actually wrote a school paper on this with Brandon Marshall. And with the questions that we've seen with Odell Beckham, and I'm not saying Odell Beckham has mental issues at all, but his how he is on the field and on the sidelines and how he could get upset. Brandon Marshall comes in and he can calm him down. He can handle him. Obviously, Odell looks up to Brandon Marshall and respects Brandon Marshall, so it comes in a lot easier. And he's going to understand how to just stay focused, basically. So I love this. It's a great signing. Of course, on the football side of it, Eli Manning's 36 years old. And time's flying for him. And the thing is, that Super Bowl window is closing. And in order to get another one, it's kind of a win now type of thing. They made great signings in free agency last year, fixing up that defense. Now they got to get that offense. That offense was at the bottom of the league, 19.4 points per game. You throw a 6'4" Brandon Marshall in the red zone, and they still got to deal with Odell. They still got to throw in Sterling Shepard, who's getting better. You've got something. And now it's also a big target because Shepard and Odell, they're either 6 foot or under. I mean, they don't really have any big receivers. And Dwayne Harris, is he really a receiver? Or is he more of just a special teams guy? So I love this pick, this signing for the Giants here. Brandon Marshall, good job. I like Brandon Marshall. Let's see. We only got a little bit left for the show. Cleveland Browns. We've talked about them. They've signed 2 solid offensive linemen. I love what they're doing on the offensive line. They're getting that offensive line better because whoever's going to protect him. Now let's just envision this. I just want a quick recap on this. Of course, the trade with the New England Patriots of Jimmy Garoppolo to the Browns, it's highly unlikely. And the Patriots, while they would love the extra picks and what they could attain for it, it doesn't make sense for the Patriots. It makes sense for the Browns. It really does. But for the Patriots, it doesn't make any sense. Because, again, Brady is 40 before the 2017 season. He doesn't have that much longer to go. Now, whether you want to say he's going to play another 5 years from now because he never gets touched, it is an argument that you could have, a debate you could have. But Brady's a smart guy. I honestly think he probably has 2 years left. And honestly, this could be his last season. I would not be shocked at all if 2017 is Tom Brady's last season in the NFL. Because he's a smart guy. He knows that all it takes is one hit. You could say, well, he never gets touched or he gets touched less than 30 times a year. It just takes one hit. It just takes one hit no matter how well built your body is at whatever age. It takes one hit. And Brady's a smart guy. He knows that, and he's got a ton of money. He doesn't need more money. So why would the Patriots give up a quarterback for the future who we all know is good now? We all know can start in the NFL. He knows the system, and he can win with the Patriots. So why give him up? Especially in this quarterback class, who knows what you got here. So, but if it did happen, let's just think about that side, right? Let's just have a little bit of fun here. A deal with Garoppolo, and if the Cleveland Browns keep that number 1 overall pick, you then have Jimmy Garoppolo as your starting quarterback, and honestly, a big upside and saying we might have our franchise quarterback. You would believe you would. And then you go and get a guy who could be your face of the franchise on the defense, and Myles Garrett, who's that number 1 overall pick, defensive end out of Texas A&M. You go and get him. Now you're building something. Now Cleveland starts to look a little bit more attractive. And if Garrett can be who we all believe he can be, Cleveland might be on the up to something. It's fun to think about. It's fun to talk about. Let me know if you believe if Jimmy Garoppolo will get traded to the Cleveland Browns. I don't think it happens. Do you want it to happen? How about that? Instead of do you think it will happen, do you want it to happen? Do you want to see Cleveland give up a few picks, several picks, I should say, in exchange for Jimmy Garoppolo? And what do you think will happen with that in that change? How would it change the NFL? Finally, last bit of news here. Suspended Oakland Raiders linebacker Aldon Smith was detained by the San Francisco police Thursday morning. The sad part about this is that he was hoping to be reinstated by the NFL this month. They were going to look at his case and talk to him and see whether they could, whether they would reinstate him. Here's the problem. He was a passenger in a car that ran into not just any car, a police cruiser. San Francisco Police Department officer told ESPN she could not confirm any names of those involved, but she said a 25-year-old female was driving and was being investigated for see if she was drunk, apparently. And then also, she said that one adult male was detained for public intoxication and should be released when he's sober. There was a third passenger who was cooperative and was released. So we all know who was Aldon Smith, the guy who was detained for public intoxication. The incident is Smith's second brush with the law in less than a month after he was mentioned in a report taken by San Francisco Police Department the weekend of February 11th. TMZ Sports reported it was a domestic-related investigation. Take that with a grain of salt with TMZ, but no arrests were made. The NFL is expected to review Smith's case this month after he was suspended in November of 2015 after several arrests and run-ins with the law, or run-ins and, of course, the league's substance abuse policy that he continued to fail. This is a prime example to all the athletes that are watching this, and even people that are not athletes that just have goals and ambitions and high dreams. Look what happens when you're with the wrong crowd and the decisions you make. He honestly could have came back. Multiple bad decisions lead to one of the best pass rushers that we've seen in the past decade, in past 5 years, now become washed up and is in need of help. And it's not looking good for him. Hate to end the show like that, but that's just a prime example. You learn from people's mistakes. You learn from his mistakes. That is it for today's show. 200th episode, full show here on YouTube. I am just blessed. I'm happy to be able to do this and to see the show have grown. This is going to be our 4th year in August of doing this show, and it's growing. It's growing. I love it. I'm blessed to be able to do this. I thank every single one of you for your support in watching the show and supporting, liking it, sharing it, tweeting it, everything. Thank you guys so much. I love you all. And I will see you guys next Friday morning. As always, God first, God bless. I'll see you then. I'm out. Peace.